Hey, everybody, welcome back to Childcare Confidential. I am Jessica Hampton, one of your co hosts here at Childcare Confidential. The beautiful and lovely Katie Dent could not be with us today. She is getting ready for our school spring program. So I know that a lot of you are probably busy with all of that too. But today we are going to talk about is gentle parenting backfiring in group care? This topic has been all over my feed lately. Providers are talking about it, teachers are talking about it, parents are talking about it, and social media has kind of turned into a complete war zone about it. So today we are asking the question, is gentle parenting backfiring in group care? Now, before everybody gets defensive, because I know this is a hot topic, this is not going to be a kids these days episode. This is definitely not a parents are lazy episode, because the truth is most parents I know are really trying very hard. They're trying to break the cycles that we grew up in. They're trying not to parent from fear. They're trying to be emotionally responsive. And honestly, a lot of that is a good thing. But somewhere along the way, social media started flattening the gentle parenting into never say no or over explaining everything, even negotiating every boundary that maybe should have been kept in place, and avoiding discomfort at all costs. And providers are feeling the impact in the classrooms every single day. We're seeing children struggling with boundaries because they don't have them. Difficulty with transitions, emotional dysregulation seems to be a big one these days, and children expecting one-on-one negotiations in group settings. And let's not forget the teachers who are walking on eggshells right now because they're afraid of upsetting parents. So today, I want to just unpack it a little bit. What is gentle parenting actually? Where the disconnect is really happening, why group care changes the equation, and how providers and parents can meet somewhere in the middle. This conversation matters. And honestly, I think it's more of a nuance here than the internet really wants to admit. So let's start here. Gentle parenting at its core is not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, there are some good principles behind it that are incredibly healthy. Things like respecting children as people, emotional regulation, connection before correction, understanding developmental behavior, avoiding shame-based discipline, and teaching instead of always punishing. Those are good things. Most early childhood professionals already use many of those things in their own practices in their classrooms. We all know that children need co-regulation. We know that behavior is communication. We know that screaming at children does not teach children emotional skills. So this is about wanting harsher parenting? No, not necessarily, no. But what happened online is that gentle parenting has just become no parenting at times. Everybody's watching those 30-second TikToks where parenting looks perfectly calm and scripted and beautiful. And suddenly the parents are feeling like they can never raise their voice. Children should never experience frustration. Every emotion requires a 15-minute processing conversation. And boundaries should always be negotiable. And that's where we start falling apart in the real world, especially in a group care setting. Because group care is different than at home and one on one care. One adult cannot stop an entire classroom every time one child's not happy with a boundary or a limit that's been set. It's just not realistic. And honestly, it's really not healthy for the children either, if we're being honest. So let's talk about what providers are experiencing right now. And again, this is not every family, but there are some patterns that providers keep bringing up over and over again. Some of the things are children are struggling when they hear the word no, extreme reactions to small disappointments. Children are having a difficult time waiting. Children are expecting constant negotiation. What are you going to give me if I do what you want me to? Adults are rescuing children from every uncomfortable feeling. And that's just not realistic to social emotional development. Children are having very little stamina for being frustrated right now. And honestly, we're probably seeing that in a lot of adults right now too. But providers are stuck in this impossible position where they're trying to maintain the structure in their classroom with the rest of the group and also navigating every parent's expectation that sometimes feels really, really individualized. For example, a teacher can say, "Okay, friends, it's time to clean up." And little Billy Joe Bob, the 3-year-old, says, "No, I'm not cleaning up." Well, now in a family setting, there might be a long conversation about choices, emotional processing, redirection. But in a classroom with 12 3-year-olds, it's just not realistic. The reality is sometimes cleanup time, that's what it is, just time to clean up. Because listening still applies. Following regulations and rules still apply. And licensing rules, they still apply too. Ratios apply, schedules apply, and other children in the classroom, hey, they still exist. And I think that's a piece of the social media parenting conversations that are completely getting ignored. Group care is not one-on-one parenting. Providers are managing safety, transition, routines, multiple emotional needs simultaneously. And children have to learn how to function within a community, such as a classroom, because eventually children will go to school, they'll go to elementary school, and they're not going to have a one-on-one regulation there. It's not feasible, just like it's not feasible in group care. They need to function within the community, and that means they have to be able to wait. They have to be able to compromise. They have to be able to be flexible. They have to be able to have boundaries. And they're going to get frustrated sometimes, but we have to teach them frustration tolerance. These are all developmental skills that actually are taught quite well in group care. And honestly, experiencing frustration is not trauma. It's a skill that we need to learn for the rest of our lives. Because have you not been frustrated this week? I know I have. That's an important distinction, that frustration is not trauma. Children can be upset without being harmed, and they need a safe place to do that. And sometimes I think that the online parenting culture has blurred that line so much that even adults become afraid of emotional discomfort. This is the heart of the issue. Gentle parenting and permissive parenting are not the same thing. But somehow we've blended them together, especially online. Gentle parenting says, I will hold boundaries calmly. Permissive parenting says, I'm afraid to hold boundaries at all. I'm just going to ignore the problem and hope that it goes away. Those are two very, very different things. Like I said earlier, gentle parenting can be a great thing if it is done correctly. But when it turns into dismissive parenting, it's not going to work for the family, and it's not going to work for the school either. Children actually feel safer with predictable boundaries. Keyword predictable, not harshness, not fear, not yelling, but consistency and predictable boundaries. A calm adult saying, I hear you're upset, and the boundary is still the boundary. That is healthy. But what providers are sometimes seeing now is adults who feel guilty for enforcing limits. And kids pick up on that immediately. So then classrooms become constant negotiations. And the problem is, children in group care need structure. Not because providers are controlling, but because group environments require cooperation and community. If one child refuses to do every transition, the whole classroom gets dysregulated. If one child is allowed to hit because they're having big feelings, other children become unsafe. And providers are increasingly expected to absorb all of that while being told they simply need to have more patience. It's just not sustainable, especially in classrooms that are already dealing with staffing shortages, burnout, high ratios, and children with significant unmet support needs. Providers are carrying an emotional load right now that is just enormous. I think the conversation gets toxic, though, online, because people immediately split into sides. Seems to be happening a lot with our adults these days. Either parents are ruining the kids, or teachers just don't understand children these days. And honestly, neither of those opinions are actually helpful. Parents are overwhelmed, providers are overwhelmed, and children are absorbing all of the stress from systems that are stretched incredibly thin right now. So instead of blaming each other, I think we need more honest conversations about what children actually need. Children need connection. They need to emotionally feel safe. Children need boundaries. Children need predictability. They need to know what's coming next. They need to know your routine and your schedule for the day and for the week. And children need opportunities to be independent. They need to be able to help with small chores around the house and feel the confidence they get from completing a task. They need chances to tolerate and learn how to deal with frustration, with helpful guidance. Consistent expectations here make a huge difference in parenting. And honestly, our providers need that support too, because the expectation that is happening right now is flat out impossible. We're asking childcare staff to regulate classrooms, teach social emotional skills, prevent behaviors, document everything, individualize every child's care, avoid upsetting parents, even though they might be in the right as far as the provider. Also, we have to maintain licensing, and somehow, all in all that, we're never supposed to get burned out. It's almost like we should be wearing capes. That is a huge, massive expectation for an already underpaid workforce. Oof, think about it. And honestly, a lot of providers are scared to even have these conversations because they don't want it to sound like they're anti-parent. And that's not what we're saying here. We're not anti-parent. We're not anti-gentle parenting. But discussing child development realities is not anti-parenting. It's necessary. We have to have the hard conversations. And this is one that I almost avoided. But here we are, because we don't do that here on Childcare Confidential. We talk all about it, no matter what it is. So, is gentle parenting backfiring in group care? I don't think gentle parenting is the problem. I think the problem is when social media turns responsive parenting into boundary avoidance. There is such a big difference between gentle parenting and passive parenting. Children are allowed to have those big feelings, but adults, you still have to lead. You are the adult. And group care settings cannot function without structure, consistency, and real expectations. The goal is never to raise children who never experience discomfort. That's not realistic because at some point in life, they are going to experience that discomfort, right? The goal is to raise children who feel safe enough to move through that discomfort with supportive adults nearby. That is totally different. And honestly, providers and parents probably agree on more than we actually think they do. But nobody's having that conversation. Everybody wants children to feel safe, respected, emotionally healthy, and understood. The challenge is figuring out how to do it in the real world environment that is often overstimulating, understaffed, and unfortunately undersupported. So I want to leave you with this question today. Are we helping children build resilience? Or are we accidentally teaching them that all discomfort should immediately disappear? And how is this showing up in your classrooms, your homes, or your programs right now? It's a big conversation that we need to keep going with. We have got to keep the conversations going and make sure we are communicating with parents. And we're working together to create successful emotionally developed children that are resilient, because they're going to face hard things in life someday. And we want to make sure that they've had the support and the structure and the confidence to move through those situations successfully. So let's make sure that we're setting every child up for success, that we're not being passive parenting or in our classrooms, but we are actually setting them up for success by teaching them how to move through these situations in a calm manner. Thanks everybody for joining me today on Childcare Confidential. You all are amazing, and we appreciate you logging in each week and watching our videos and our coaching. Please don't forget that the vault is coming soon, and we want you to be a part of it. So go to childcareconfidential.com, look for that little tab at the top that says the vault, and fill out the contact page on there. And one of us will reach out to you and get you some more information about joining our amazing coaching program that is starting on June 3rd. Thank you so much and have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.